What is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Xi Jinping is preparing the Chinese people for war, our national security advisor says. This is something we have talked about for a very long time. We think it's kind of common sense here, of course, and many of you guys agree. If you disagree, though, please let me know over this entire show. If there's something you disagree with me on, let's not see eye to eye. You go back 10 years when you could do that and also stay reasonably friendly with people that didn't agree with you. So first of all, I have shown you a lot of things. I've followed the news every single day for the last 5 years. And of course, I've been relaying a lot of this to you. With all of the current events, it is pretty clear that it is about to get real. It said Herbert Raymond McMaster, a former national security advisor on the T-Man team, said on Monday he believes Chinese President Xi Jinping is preparing the Chinese people for war. Now, this is now coming out, but a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, obviously 5 years ago, I said the same thing, but there was very clear marks as far as what the Chinese people were actually being told. Now, there's all of the Ganda and everything that goes around, and of course, there's their Ganda pieces, the Global Times, the Shenwen, the People's Daily, and all these different, pieces that basically all of their newspapers have to be approved by the president himself or somebody really close. They put out pieces essentially saying that we were responsible for 2019 and everything that followed, that we basically attacked them, that we basically did a T attack on their country, that they need to take feminine men out of their culture. I'm not, this isn't something that I'm saying was an opinion. It was something that they're physically changing about their country and their culture. They're removing feminine men from television. They're doing all sorts of crazy things, basically hardening their country for a war. Now, there were opinions and op-eds that were basically approved by the president himself that went out. And there are a good chunk of their people that take these as gospel, especially if they're coming out in the People's Daily and the Global Times and things like this. And those op-eds basically said that America is the enemy. Now, obviously, we are adversaries, but, everybody has worked together to keep money rolling and everything else. It says that speaking on CBS Face the Nation, hosted by Margaret Brennan, McMaster said that the U.S. should take care not to fall into the same traps we did with Vladimir Putin when it comes to the threat of conflict with China over Taiwan. He said, and he and several pundits, including Michelle Flournoy, the former Undersecretary of Defensive Policy, were on the show discussing U.S. foreign policy on various fronts, such as dealing with Iran and the war in UKR and China. McMaster, a retired lieutenant general who served as national security advisor in 2017 and 2018 under former president, DT, said that the U.S. should take potential threats from Xi seriously, adding that the leader means what he says. It says, quote, I think that we have to be careful not to mirror image, not to fall into the same traps we did with Vlad of confirmation bias and optimism bias. He added that Xi has been posturing aggressively in recent speeches, telling Chinese people that it would take sacrifices to restore China to national greatness. Now, you have to understand that China does not want to be number two. This is something that is very, very clear. They will not be number two forever. At least that's not how they want it. They are doing everything in their power, including spending buku bucks to become the largest military superpower in the world. Now, the U.S. still has an advantage. We're still the most badass and everything else. But just as the folks probably told Rome, that can change. And that definitely can change if you start, reducing your military, reducing your stockpiles, stopping training, cutting funding. Meanwhile, your enemies are tripling, quadrupling, quintupling the same things. Again, people think that it's just the U.S. is going to stay invincible forever. That's not the case, especially if we underestimate our enemies or if we're infiltrated and people at the very top are making decisions that actually hurt our military instead of help it. McMaster said that Xi has made quite clear through his recent statements that he is preparing to move against Taiwan and towards subsuming the island. It's pretty clear something is going to go down as far as Taiwan, and I don't think it's going to be 2027. With all of the different things that happened with UKR before it happened, it's happening in the same way it is for Taiwan. They are even practicing. Like I've said, it makes no sense to do all of these drills that cost millions of dollars to do, to have an entire navy surrounding the island to do drills for a military that in 5 years from now, in 2027, won't even be in service anymore. If they're going to do a practice, it's probably going to be at most a year out. That's why I believe it's going to be in the next year, and 2023 is the year that this may happen. So again, we're going to cover this and much, much more. We have so much in today's show, so stay tuned. We will be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Marfoogle News. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to cover a wide variety of subjects, so make sure to go over to the website, marfooglenews.com, and make sure to go to today's thumbnail. Today's thumbnail was we are living in a movie, and of course, it's about to get real. Once you click on that, you will find we do it a little differently. We make sure to have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, even things that are added by the callers. Today is a call-in show, so you can call in at 2244-00-MARF. That's again 2244-006273, and that number is scrolling down below. Today should be packed. We have at least one caller I'm expecting. I'm hoping they get in. Again, we're going to try to get in Global Witness or Willing Witness. I apologize. And we are going to end up having him on the show, and then we also will have some open lines. So make sure to call in quick right after we introduce Dex. Speaking of Dex, let's bring him in. Dex, my co-host / internet brother, what is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So before we go back into the news, I want to go over. So not everybody is going to take everything is a distraction. Everything is, and again, I understand why people think that everything is a distraction. But as far as this goes, there's so many little pieces of the puzzle that go into this that everybody wants to say that anything that says that China is going to go to war or we're going to have world war. There are a good chunk of people that basically say, no, it's all distraction and it's all part of this. I believe that a war has its uses for the the people at the very, very top, and that these people do not care about us whatsoever. They do not care if millions of people are gone. They don't care if cities are destroyed. They don't care if people disappear off the planet. It's just how they run at the very top. If you've ever met somebody even close to that level, they literally look at people that are not uber rich as lower life forms. So as far as war can restructure power. War can restructure, of course, money. It can send money into different pockets and make them even richer. And it can make, of course, the poor even poorer. As far as this first story, Dex, we have covered so many little things. I actually agree with McMaster, and I guess his thing though is he's warning, like, don't take them seriously. I would say the same thing, because people are not, and that's because I believe we are partly infiltrated by different people that are basically trying to make it, minimize everything that's happening.
I would agree. This is not about us telling everybody here something new. We all know this. This is actually insightful to see that we're getting this confirmation of what we think and what we have been hearing from different leaders from yet another leader. They're re-emphasizing the things that we all know we need to prepare for, and specifically thinking about what Xi has been doing is, it's we've covered it for years. It's clear, the writing's on the wall, and there are plenty of people that have their head in the sand and just think that nothing's happening. And you'll see later on, there's going to be some commentary we talk about in some other articles where you may think, oh, well, everything's just hunky dory between the U.S. and China, but it's not. And I don't see how anyone could think that everything's just going to be okay and nothing's going to happen.
And as far as in the next few years, they're planning on restructuring everything in our lives. If you don't know about the plans, we're talking about a major change to how we do our even basic things. If you don't know about 15-minute cities, if you don't know about 2030, if you don't know about all that, I would highly recommend that you do some quick research. And, well, I would highly recommend you spend hours upon hours looking into what they are actually planning. They are saying it under the guise of making everything better as far as the air above us and everything around us. But at the same time, there's a lot of really helpful and convenient things inside these things that basically make it extremely easy to run a huge population of people. So when you look into those things, you'll see that very quickly things are going to change. And it's not like one of those things like where, oh, well, we'll see if it gets voted in or something like this. It's something that is going to be pushed through at the very top levels. It's something also, if there's a big event, if something like the catastrophic region thing 2025 happens, it would be fast-tracked and almost instantaneous. They could do things like this. See, the thing is people don't think that things could drastically change. People in the United States says, oh, that will never happen here. But then again, we didn't think CV would happen either. We didn't think 2019 would happen. We didn't think that instantly within, a few months, the entire world could be on the same page. And it wasn't exactly in a good way. It was in a bad way. Shelves were empty across the way. It was one of the first times where, it's not just like, oh, we have something in common if we're in the U.S. and this is happening to us. The entire globe, or plane, whatever you want to call it, the entire, all of our countries were all going through the same thing at the same time, except for maybe Sweden. But it was something where all of us, we kind of united into this thing where we, of course, we're all in this thing together, right? But at the same time, look at how easy it was to change things up. Look at how easy it was to actually change the way we live. Look at how we are now doing almost all self-checkout, how there's no cash. You can't even use cash in most places. Or if you do, you've got to wait for one register out of 40, and you have to wait in a line of 50 people. So you go, I don't want to use cash and wait here for 45 minutes when there's a machine that takes card right there. Look at all of the things that got put in place, and it almost seemed like these things were ready to go. All of the different services that are now going to be replaced by drones and robots and everything else. This is all going to happen extremely fast, and people are not going to be ready for it. And most of you have seen this from 10 miles away. But of course, most people are just going to take it and just going to go, well, that's how things are. But again, this is something everything's going to change. Even how you eat is going to change. You're not going to be able to eat steak by 2030. That's what they're telling you, that 8 ounces of steak, you'll have some sort of limit, like 8 ounces of steak a month. And even then, it will be priced so high that it will be like a fancy bottle of champagne. If you don't think things are about to change, then I think that you partially have your head in the sand. At least that's the very least that we can agree on, that things are about to change big time. And that we're not going to have a chance to choose if it happens or not. Not unless something major happens. And again, if some big things happen, that's exactly what could happen. Maybe that's why Mr. Gates is saying that we will have a civil engagement with each other. Who knows? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, everybody that has popped in. Thank you for all the loving, positive comments down there. I love everybody that is pushing each other up down there. Just remember, when we have callers, no saying next. No saying like, oh, hang up or whatever. Doesn't matter what the caller sounds like. Always just a reminder, someone called in probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. They ended up having everybody in the chat say, this person's drunk, this person's that. They ended up watching that back. They ended up calling again, and they pretty much made everybody feel like crap. That person suffered a stroke, and that's why they talked a little different. And again, that is something that's a perfect example of, like, you don't know what anybody else is going through. You don't know the battle that somebody else is going through. So just be polite and act like it was a family member that's calling in. Treat them respectful. Also, they're going to be coming right back into chat with you. So just be nice. Just remember that. Like, that was obviously a really bad. A lot of people emailed me after that and said they were so sorry. They felt like just a jerk. But it's like, why do you have to have that happen to feel like a jerk? Let's just all be nice and let's have a good time. This should be the place you come after work, or you're listening at work, that you can have a good time. Listen to everything that's happening. All right, so thank you, Janie Girl, Kirsten Brown. We've got Rebecca Snavely, Doctor Who. Thank you for being here. The Major, what is going on? Nice to see you. I don't know if you're here. Drop, thank you. Wide Awake and Angry, nice to see you. Jur Camp, we've got One on B, Cognitable. Ilea, thank you for modding. JC, thank yous. John Camper, and of course, Alan Petty. And just a shout out, make sure to especially say thank you to your mods on call-in shows. They always have definitely a fun job, that's for sure. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back into the news. San Francisco is about to be hit with a brutal storm so severe that a meteorologist says is one of the most impactful he's ever seen. As it continues to clean up from a thorough drenching over New Year's weekend, San Francisco is bracing for an even bigger storm meteorologists warn could be catastrophic. The National Weather Service's Bay Area issued a frank and dire warning to citizens in a statement, saying that the storm, which is currently forecast to begin peaking on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, could bring about flooding and the loss of life. So they're straight up saying that this could actually be fatal for some. It says, to put it simply, this will likely be one of the most impactful systems on a widespread scale that this meteorologist has seen in a long while. The warning read that the impacts will include widespread flooding, roads washing out, hillside collapsing, trees down, potentially full groves, widespread power outages. This is, again, something you cannot control. Immediate disruption to commerce, and the worst of all, likely loss of human life. This is truly a brutal system that we are looking at, and it needs to be taken seriously. So actually, they've been pretty good lately. For the last 5 years that I've covered this stuff, a lot of the time they will hype up a storm. The news will cover it. Every news outlet will say, we're preparing for, impactful storm 2023. And then when it gets there, it's nothing. In Washington, especially, they 1 year, a couple years ago, they hyped up a storm so much, and it ended up being like 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and everybody made fun of it. It turned into a meme. They had plastic lawn chairs tipped over, and it's like, we survived the storm. It was actually pretty funny. That is a good case where it's not the horrible thing that they say. But I would say this does look bad, and lately, I don't know if it's on purpose, but they have been calling these things. At the very least, people in California and off the West Coast should be prepared for anything, and especially be prepared for flooding. Make sure that if there's little things you can do to help your house, do it beforehand. Get sandbags. Do things that, obviously most people don't just have lying around, especially in areas that don't normally flood. As far as have extra food and water stored somewhere high. Have, of course, extra supplies around. Now, as far as the storms, it says the storms come after downtown San Francisco saw 5.46 inches of rain on New Year's Eve, the second wettest day the city has ever seen. Despite those rains and the ones expected this week, however, the state will remain in a drought. It says in the driest years on record. One thing I want to point out is a lot of folks are talking about pole shift, and they are talking about, of course, solar events that are happening right now. It's kind of weird that every time we have a massive solar event or something that affects our magnetosphere, we have something like this, or really, really strange weather events. And it doesn't seem, I'm not going to say it's not a coincidence, because it could be, But at the same time, we're looking at earthquakes and we are seeing crazy, crazy weather. Of course, Wages came on and did a show with me earlier, and we'll show you that, the face in the sun. That was on Marfoogle News, our main channel, caught a really crazy photo, but talked about how solar events can affect weather as well. Now, there's a good chunk of us that believe that the pole shift, if it does eventually happen, it's something that they don't know exactly what is going to happen. Is this because of something like that, or is it something else? Is it because of the main reason that they are saying? Is it what Greta is saying, or is it something else? Let me know in the comments down below. And again, thank you everybody for piling in here. And then 2 men arrested in attacks on the Washington State power substations. I want to point out all of these have been hidden or went straight to DOE and have never come to light. And now all of a sudden they're basically putting these out in the public. There have been events exactly what these 2 guys did in Washington on several levels in multiple states, and this has happened before. And what I think is very strange is all those previous attacks before last year, but before 2022, all of those attacks went to the Department of Energy and stayed there. They never went to the public. They did not put them out. They hid them, and only did it come out, I believe, in 2022 or late 2021 when the NERC report came out, that there were over 700 attacks in like 9 years that they had basically covered up or never talked about or never publicized. They went to DOE, never went any further. There were only 2 out of like 700 different events that actually had them subcategorized into if a car drove into the power station, if somebody took a pot shot at it, if somebody threw something over, if a drone flew over, if somebody took a snipe at it. Doesn't matter what it was, they had it subcategorized, or vandalism or throwing a rock at it, whatever it may be. They had all of those different events and none of them public. In just the last couple months, we have had several public attacks and publicized attacks on multiple pieces of our grid. Now, the grids is exactly that. They are all connected. So say an attack on 9 substations could knock down all of our grid. If 9 substations are hit, according to the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, they found that only 9 locations could be taken out, and it would knock down our entire grid, and it could put it out as long as 18 months, or even longer, depending if our backup plan was affected. These 2 men were ended up arrested. It said that 2 Washington State men have been arrested in connection with the Christmas Day attacks on 4 power substations in the Tacoma area, federal authorities said on Tuesday. It says Matthew Greenwood and Jeremy Crahan were scheduled to appear in court Tuesday afternoon in U.S. District Court in Tacoma on charges of conspiracy to damage energy facilities and possession of unregistered firearms, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. It says the 2 men were known to authorities and had been under FBI surveillance for more than a month in late 2021 and early 2022. Okay, so one thing I don't get is, so how are these guys, and how is it always where they were already under FBI surveillance? And it makes you think, what did they actually do to get under FBI surveillance? How much does it actually take to have the FBI start watching you, start following you, start doing all of these things now in the 2020s? It's just freaky. Like, what were these guys in? Like, what group were they in? You know, they said all these warnings to us, and Homeland Security said that basically the biggest threat was people inside the U.S., not somebody from another country, but basically said the threat was us. You know, it was inside the country. Now, a lot of people have a hard time believing that, but with stuff like this, we don't know what exactly is going on here. But I would say this, preppers are looking at the fact that now we have had several events happen to our grid, and maybe it is on purpose that they are now publicizing this and telling people. Maybe it's all part of something. I don't know, but I would definitely pay attention. And either way, I don't think that anybody would be above actually turning your power off. So make sure to have extra supplies, extra water for sure. And of course, make sure to look at stuff while you can, while you have a plethora of information on the internet. Make sure to learn things right now. It's a perfect opportunity, especially in the first couple months of the year when a lot of people are lower in work because of winter, make sure to get on YouTube and learn some things. All right, and then what do you guys think about that? What do you think they were doing? Give us a call at 2244-006273. Make sure to press option 4 when you do. You'll get through to Dex. It looks like we may have a special guest here in a minute, so stay tuned. Kimbria, thank you. Michelle K says, much love, Marf and Dex and Foogle fam. Thank you, Sniffles711. I appreciate that. Vicky K, thank you for your nightly stop by. And then Hal9000, thank you. Skyhouse, Scooby-Doo right? Light of Vibes, thank you. It seems like D-Live has kind of been like, I don't know. It seems like it's been revived lately. Like there's more people hanging out on D-Live. So thank you guys, and I appreciate you. And thank you to Chance and Jammer, and of course April. Thank you guys for being over there and modding. It says this chart explains why the U.S. is running low on missiles. So this is obviously something kind of odd for us to even think about, considering how much prep and how many drills and how many exercises and how many adversaries we have right now. But this is, of course, what they're saying. Just like Russia's running out of missiles, it says it's boom times for U.S. defense contractors and they can't keep up with demand. The Russian invasion of UKR and China's military buildup have U.S. lawmakers shelling out billions to buy new missiles, aircraft, tanks, and helicopters to support allies. Again, you heard that right, to support our allies, including UKR. So we're basically pumping them out and sending them somewhere else. But again, it's not charity, it's an investment in global security. So are all of the other proxy conflicts we've been in to date, right? And it says that, and prepare for future conflict. It says, including the most recent tranche of funding passed in December, Congress has enacted about $110 billion in aid to UKR, about $40 billion of which will go towards weapon transfers and purchases. It says that's putting stress on the makers of modern weaponry, considering that some 1,600 Stinger missiles used by individual soldiers to attack aircraft were sent to UKR from American stockpiles. But the U.S. stopped making them in 2003. It says Raytheon, it's manufactured, has restarted production, but doesn't expect to deliver the weapons in large numbers for a year or more. Raytheon is just one of 5 major defense contractors, and that number is now getting a lot of attention at the Pentagon, which is now clamoring for more competition in the defense industrial base. It says a report issued last year says that the Department of Defense now depends on just 5 prime contractors today, compared to 51 in the 1990s. So look at how this is actually broke down. So you don't have to see, and if it's not exactly clear on your screen, it's pretty simple to see that there are a lot of tiny little names. And what this is called is monopolies. Okay, all of these came down. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 companies that ended up getting bought out and then basically held by Boeing. Even more for Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin essentially is at the root of about 15 different companies. You have like 20. Northrop Grumman basically is a Pac-Man that basically consumed all of these tiny companies. And you have the illusion that it's not a monopoly because there are broken up into competitors: Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon, and of course, I'm forgetting the last one, General Dynamics. But at the same time, I think we just covered something recently that said that they were going to just split all of the contracts evenly. Now, I can't remember if that was exactly the case, but I'm pretty sure they were in this big debate on who was going to get the contracts, and I think they ended up deciding that they would just split it through all of them. So it kind of makes you think that maybe, just maybe, that there is no real competition and they're all just kind of branches of something that is coming from the very top. Just my thoughts. When you actually look at all of the companies back in the 50s that used to produce these things, it was great. There was tons of little American companies that were making these things, and then they just basically got gobbled up by the corporate big monsters like Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and General Dynamics. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment below. I love to hear you guys. Please shout out where you're from. This was in part the result of good news. The great consolidation of the weapons industry in the U.S. was driven by spending cuts following the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War. So they're basically saying this happened because it was good news. We didn't need all these companies. We needed to narrow it down. It said the Last Supper mentioned in the chart above was a meeting between U.S. Defense Department official William Perry and the CEOs of major defense contractors, which during Perry said the companies should consolidate or die as weapons spending would fall. Some of this consideration, however, was driven by frenzied deal-making, low interest rates, and arguably lax approach to antitrust. Faced with sudden demand for weapons, the Defense Department now wants to push back against mergers that could leave the military dependent on just a handful of critical suppliers. It says the issue isn't so much that the U.S. isn't running out of weapons, but that it's transferring to UKR are stretching its own stockpiles, which it needs to train and be prepared for unexpected conflict. It says, for one example, experts estimate that the U.S. has given more than a third of its stockpile of Javelin anti-tank missiles to UKR, which will take years to replenish. It almost seems like it's on purpose. As far as a third of our stockpile of Javelins going somewhere else, that's just stupid. But again, there are those that say, hey, it's an investment in our global security. You would think that we would, at this point, just be at conflict with Russia directly. Of course, that they won't do that because they don't want an actual war, right? But they want an actual war. The military-industrial complex takes billions of dollars. They overcharge for things. You could have a little tiny cap that probably goes on top of it's probably a 3D printed cap that ends up costing a taxpayer $1 million. You don't know. There, of course, have been times where they have criticized and critiqued some of the spending that goes on in these military budgets. And, you know, there's been rumors of $20,000 toilet seats for the jets, things like this. It's like this kind of money and spending, you know that they're not actually charging $20,000 for that toilet seat. Some of it is getting funneled around, or at least that's the opinion of many. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you, everybody that has supported so far. Thank you for everybody that just popped in. Of course, we have a lot of great people here tonight. Thank you so much. Ilea Eve, Carol McLean says, terrific Fooglers here. Thank you guys for being really positive. By the way, I missed Sun Summoner. Sun Summoner, you actually did a super chat at the very, very, very end of my shoutro last night. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss you. And I wanted to tell you that, you know, obviously that does mean a lot. Thank you so much for your support last night. And again, thank you. Stephen McMahon, thank you, says, I'll bet it's a fantastic Freddy. They've told us that they want to attack Christian nationalists. Stephen McMahon, wouldn't be surprised. Josh P, Pole Shift is coming. Get prepared. Josh P, again, we're going to be doing a show on that. I'm doing my research for it, so again, wish me luck on that. Stephen McMahon G will inevitably attack Taiwan. The question is when. I don't think he can go till this April because of ocean tides. Stephen McMahon, I don't know about that. I don't. I would love to see if you have any kind of articles or anything that would educate me on that. That is also something I wouldn't claim I know about that, but I would assume that the ocean tides could affect naval battle. All right, and then before we go over to the phones here in a second, we're also going to be covering. Here we go. In military drill, Iran uses explosive drone to target mock Israeli naval base. So things between the I countries have been heating up in the Middle East. It says on December 31st, 2022, the Iranian military conducted a drill in which an explosive drone targeted a simulated Israeli Navy base. The Islamic Republic officials news agency published footage of the Alabil drone being launched from the Iris Levant, a Hangam-class landing ship. The target was a mock Navy base designed to have a similar layout to Israel's Elit Navy base. It says the drill comes as part of a series conducted by the various branches of the Army dubbed Zulfikar 1401. Now, Joseph Newhouse, I don't know if you're here, but if or if anybody wants to look up the meaning of Zulfikar, anytime they have these big exercises, like Jade Helm or any kind of huge exercise that everybody talks about here, they're normally named after something. Of course, even there's always significance into the names of these things. The B-21 Raiders, the new stealth fighter, the raid actually comes from the Doolittle raid. All of the names actually have meaning, or they say that they have some sort of significance. I wonder what that means. Now, I'm sure that a simple Google or DuckDuckGo search will find out what that's translated to, but I would love to hear it. Make sure to comment down below what you think it is. Again, and see if there's any significance there. It says the Mach drone base targeted an explosive drone in the Ireland military drill, and it says the layout buildings are similar to Illit Port indeed. So this is something you see before an actual conflict, and of course, take Japan for example. Before they attacked Pearl Harbor, they actually trained pilots in an area that looked just like Pearl Harbor. If you go back throughout history, and I can't remember the name of the place they drilled, but the whole layout and even the coastline and everything that they did was actually a very similar place, so they could actually train their pilots on how to fly in, how to do their thing, how to hit the different ships. If they are doing this, this is not unique, because there's China essentially doing the same thing on us. China is not only practicing in the desert hitting aircraft carriers that are, basically size replicas of our own, but they're also practicing port buster submarine missiles and weapons and torpedoes on basically ports that look just like our own. They're also doing island hopping exercises that look like Taiwan. They even have a replica of Taiwan's capital, Taipei, that looks almost exactly like the Capitol building. So when you see this, that could be something that is leading up, or a practice for a real conflict. If these two countries go to conflict, we are in some serious trouble. So that is something to pay attention to. We'll update you guys, and I'm sure more information will come out as it comes. Now we're going to get our first caller on, and let me make sure that we have, it looks like willing witness. We wanted to get him in. Okay, so we do have Derek Bros, aka willing witness. While you get Derek in, just want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, we are independent. So just so you know, we do not have a multi-channel network. If you're new here, we don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have our audience. Again, the most important thing to do is to share our stuff out with somebody that's never seen it before. We do not get recommended. We don't trend. That stuff is all really hard when you are covering controversial topics. We're in the news category, which means news is automatically going to be algorithmically basically given to CNN and MSNBC and all of those guys right off the bat. So if you do want to help us share out, but on another way to help us is to go through any of our affiliates. Now, all of our affiliates are products that we personally use, that we believe in. Energy is one of the best solar generators on the market. And again, they make different products for different people. The X2 has the smallest wait list. Again, these things are extremely coveted. They're the best out there. They last the longest. These are an investment that you can literally keep for decades upon decades. They're not a YouTube ad generator you're gonna get it and realize that it's absolute crap. These things are tried and true. Ask anyone that has one. They are absolutely amazing. Now, there's the X2, which is all built in one. The system that I have, and again, I'm actually waiting on my X2 like everybody else, is the Flex 1500. That's this system, and this works basically like Lego. They stack, and the batteries actually have the input and the output on the top and the bottom of the battery. So basically, they click together, they lock, and you can carry them together in stacks of 5. What's really cool is you can expand it up to 96 batteries, and you can actually triple the input. There's something called a supercharger, which is about half the size of one of these batteries that sandwiches in between, and you can actually triple the input from 4 solar panels to 12. So instead of 400 watts, you're actually getting 1,200 watts, and you cut your charging time in a third. Now, as far as all of the different attachments, they have all sorts of cool things that have basically, low or almost no watt usage. They have lights that will light up your entire house that take less than like 20 watts. They have all sorts of cool stuff, low wattage stoves, all sorts of accessories that are made specifically for this generator. If you're going to get one, you should get the best because, again, you can go cheap and have it last 5 years, or you can go and invest in one like this and have it be really, really longevity-wise, these can last decades. Now, as far as this one goes, also, it is stealth. All of these solar generators have one thing that is really, really positive, is one, you can use them inside your house. There's no nasty gases or fumes. And also they are extremely, extremely quiet, like silent. In fact, they are literally, I've never heard a sound out of my Flex or my LT. So make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. Not only will you save money, but you'll be helping our channel. All right, let's get Derek Bros on, willing witness. What is going on, man? How are you doing?
How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, it's nice to talk to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's going on?
Oh man, it's been amazing. I've just been listening to your show, and you're keeping up on all of the recent events, the crazy things happening, and it's wonderful to hear you. I've been paying attention to everything that's going on, although I've been kind of secluded, and it's been wonderful. But I've got lots of things that are going to be coming out. But I wanted to comment on something that, I saw a tweet that you had said today, that you had put out there, and it was really, there's so many things taking place. I mean, obviously all of us are watching, the apocalypse take place. Apocalypse simply meaning the revealing, right? It's being revealed. Everything to you is being shown right in front of your face. They don't care. They're just showing you what's happening. And so you're starting to realize that Washington DC is, it's a B movie with B movie actors. It's where ugly people go to be in Hollywood, right? They go there to act in the movies. Hollywood, it's a different business model in Hollywood. And I've spent a lot of time in those areas, and a lot of time in DC. I've testified before Congress on more than 30 occasions. I've been around. I mean, I've been around and went there. So we're just watching it really come to life right now. And when we're talking about what's happening financially, the walls, you had tweeted about the walls going up around the Federal Reserve, and they're concreted in, that they're concreted in. And it looks like temporary walls, but it's more protection walls, because we have some very serious things taking place in the financial markets. Finances and in general, currency itself is an evil construction. And this evil construction of false value, money represents what you think is value. You think your dollar, I say, how much is your dollar worth? You say it's worth $1. Well, what's $1 worth? Well, it's worth what I can buy something for. So it's a belief system, which is why the dollar is backed by the full faith and credit of the people of the United States of America. So your faith and your belief in it represents its value. Once people do not believe in the value of the dollar's value is over. So the minute that the dollar's value is crippled in the mentality of everybody, this isn't just Americans. This is the globe, since we're the currency that runs the global economic systems. We also have, and they've announced, the IMF has announced that the 3 top GDP nations of the world are going simultaneously into recession. The financial collapse of the systems are upon us, and the moving us into the central bank digital currencies is upon us. And this is what is combined with kind of a great reset and re-understanding and cleansing, if you will, of many different areas. So this is kind of where people can say, oh, well, it's scriptural, because they will expose the bad parts of this. Like, it's kind of like they kill the bad. Oh, yes, we know we were bad back there. We'll kill the bad part of us, but we're going to rise again good. So the difference is that who's controlling what rises up? And so that would be my question for anybody to think about. But most importantly, I would just say that through all of this, no matter how difficult it gets, is that this is all planned, and there's a reason why you know about what you've learned about yourself spiritually, because we need to all reset ourselves. And this is where you become kind of dead to the world. You have to die to all of those things and not be scared, because fear is just, fear is what they want you. That's the state they need you in. But don't be fearful. Everything's going to be fine. I just want to encourage people to maintain their cran through all of this. That's all.
Now, I won't call out their name, but they said, everybody calm down. You guys relax. Don't take everything so literal. So
yeah,
the people here are not, we're not just looking at one thing and going, oh, it says it's blue. It's blue. Oh, we got to freak out. We've been following this for years. We have seen all of this stuff. People said the same thing before CV happened, and the entire community saw it coming from a million miles away. You didn't have to be a psychic to see this stuff coming. There are pieces from all over the world falling into place. And like you said, this wall, by the way, the wall around the Federal Reserve, it is creepy. People were posting it today like it just happened. It's been like this at least since April of last year. And they say it's because of construction, but those are concrete posts that are put in. Something is going on, and it's not like, oh, we think something is happening. It's very clear that things are about to change. It's not like a theory. It's literal. The literal changes are happening in front of our face. You know, there's changes every day, Derek. I mean, this is getting crazy.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying. Yeah, people think that we're all afraid. The whole point of this is to not ride the roller coaster of fear. It's not to be super excited or sell your house and go out and live in a tent. The whole point is that you are desensitized to this, and you can think logically and see what is happening, not freak out. And it's not about like, oh, be excited. It's about seeing it coming. And every time it's happened, we've all seen it coming. And that's because we're paying attention. We're not going to go back to sleep. That once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. Go ahead, Derek.
No, you can't unsee what you've been shown. It's like that 3D art of all the dots on the thing, that picture, and then you look at it and they say, oh no, really, it's a castle, and you're looking at it, it's just a bunch of dots, and then all of a sudden you can see the castle. You can never go back to just seeing the dots once you've seen the castle. It's the same thing. So once you understand it and your mind has formulated it, that's the problem. And, and that's where you have this separation. That's where you say that some are sleeping and some are not sleeping, because they haven't formulated it in their head. And the reason for that, Adam, is that the fact is that you can't reason people out of situations that they didn't reason themselves into. And that was the quote that I heard, I can't remember who it was from, but it was just brilliant because it's fact. But we have right now things that are happening, and they're obvious that they're happening to show us exactly what's going on. It's obvious that it's almost like a flex for those in the powers that be, to flex and show you that the conspiracy theories were real, to show you that thing. It's really kind of odd of what's happening right now. And it's when but this is the whole point of what I talk about from a spiritual perspective, Adam, is that people you can't prepare for this. I mean, you can prepare. The energy generator you have, that's a great generator that you market. Phenomenal. I mean, their accessories and everything are incredible. But that prepares you for certain things. But the reality is, the hardest part that is going to be to prepare ourselves for is ourselves, how we handle the destruction of things, how we handle the fact that we no longer have that thing, how we handle the fact that, shoot, I might be homeless, or that something might happen that's dramatic. If we don't have our spiritual sense intact, fully understanding, die into this world, understanding that this is all orchestrated. They do this. We are populi. We're cattle. We're sheep for the most part. And even when you're at high levels like an Elon Musk, you see what happens when they go out of line. But at the same time, you can't even really judge whether they're not part of the process to make you believe. So everything is, I believe everyone is becoming very aware of what is happening right now. Very aware. We don't have many people that are fully asleep, but they're definitely waking up.
And as far as like, as far as being prepared, like think about it. If you actually do not have your creature comforts, you don't have the internet, you don't have TV, you don't have heat, you don't have water. Say, yeah, you do have a generator and you're out in the woods or something. People having to get used to the fact that if the stuff that we talk about actually goes down, it's going to be huge. People might not be able to mentally handle it. You're talking about the pastor down the street might turn into the robber. I mean, we have no idea how society is going to act if any of these events happen, and it's not going to be pretty. So that's why, at least if you have 2% of your brain dedicated to preparing it and to reading, the thing is I think that my channel serves a purpose, your channel serves a purpose, we all serve our purpose. In a way, is not everybody stays here for 2 years. People think, oh, why are you always talking about this? Because that's my purpose. People don't watch me for, some people have watched me for 5 years straight, but most people, essentially, they'll go and they'll do it for 6 months, or they'll watch me for 3 or 4 months, and they get the information that they need to wake up, and then they move on, past me into something else. People are searching out this information because they are down these rabbit holes. And frankly, a lot more people are waking up right now more than ever. If the Google didn't algorithmically, whatever the heck the word is, if they didn't suggest MSNBC, CNN, and all of them at the very top of Google searches and YouTube, they would be dead by now. Nobody would watch them.
They'd be gone. Yeah, they'd be gone. They'd be over.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, think about it. For us, for you, for myself, Jacob Israel, even having 1,000 people watching is a huge deal. When you looked at even some of the bigger gamers, if they have 3,000, 4,000 people watching, that's a giant thing. Daytime television, people think that millions of people are watching every show. No. There's daytime ratings. If 50,000 or 40,000 or 30,000 or 20,000 people are watching you, you have better daytime ratings than TV shows on TV. Yeah, that's what people don't understand. It's like we are taking over that information, and they're basically holding up, this MSM News on a pedestal and protecting them from falling. But the truth is, people are going to start coming to channels like mine and yours a whole lot more than they're going to anywhere else. And they see that pattern. And that's why they're trying to take all of us down. That's why they're trying to stop us. We don't help their bottom line. We don't help their narrative. We only hurt it. So I think that also one thing we're going to see this year is a lot of change as far as YouTube and all of the platforms. And Elon and with Twitter and all of this stuff, this is a whole nother sign that things are about to get really tough for people like you and me and Jacob and everybody else. So I hope people are buckled up. It's going to get real.
For sure. Well, Adam, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. When I watch, people don't understand how much work this actually is. And you work your ever-loving butt off. So Jacob works his butt off. Everybody I've connected with, everybody I've connected with, I never, talked with or collaborated with people that weren't actually really doing the work. So I just wanted to let you know that, I appreciate that you are one of the people that I found that I've talked to hundreds of YouTubers. You are one of the people that really does it. You do the work. You and Dex do the work. brother. So I appreciate it. There's nothing that you put up here that is garbage. You don't talk to me because I'm garbage. You talk to me because I talk about things from a different angle. I'm not just news driven. I want to talk to you about spiritual aspects of it and just where we're at. And that's a beautiful thing. You've been wonderful. Dex is incredible. And what I've found from the Marfoogle family, everybody that's come to my channel as a result of us talking has been just amazing. So I thank you for that. And keep supporting. Hey, anybody listening, please support Adam, because it supports a group. It supports his family. It supports Dex. Do it. This is hard stuff. This is hard work.
Well, thank you, Derek, and I appreciate that. Same goes to you. Everybody should head over to Willing Witness, almost close to 110,000 subscribers. So let's try to get him to that, over that hump. Again, every 10,000 is a crazy accomplishment for anybody, let alone over 100 and now 110. So thank you so much for coming on, Derek.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
By the way, before you go,
are you family? Love you guys.
Are you still local, or you didn't move away? Did you?
I know I'm here in Seattle.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk. And thank you so much. And apologize we haven't met up sooner. But I've got 4 kids, and the holidays was nuts.
We'll get there.
All right. Thank you so much.
We'll get there.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
That was a Willing Witness. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You can find his channel not only on tonight's website at the very bottom in callers, but you can also find him on marfooglenews.com/friends. All right, and then back into the news. Remember, you can call in at 224-400-MARF. The next call is going to be one of you, so make sure to get in if you are a first-time caller, or if you have video that you want people to see. If you have a crazy Ring camera video that, caught your shelves shaking in an earthquake or something, send it to us, marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. We can actually get it onto today's show. That goes for asteroid sightings or anything crazy in the sky. Send it to us. Get a video on YouTube, and then send us the link at marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. And then New York man sentenced to 2 years for conspiring to steal GE secrets for China. So what's funny is we have a story after this, and I think it's right after this. It's in a few. So what's crazy is basically China has stolen a lot of our information, a lot of our actual blueprints. And since they have the ability to manufacture almost anything that we manufacture here, in fact, we were outsourcing our military equipment, or at least parts of it, to China, which is absolutely nuts. People still have this thought that everything made in China is bunk and it's going to fall apart the second it's made. That is not true. Every country in the world has been slowly shifting. Every country in the world wanted to better their bottom line. So what it ended up happening is slowly everybody said, well, we could have it made in America for $25 an hour, or we could have it made in China for $2 an hour. Which do you think that these big corporations, which all of them are corporations and all of them have a bottom line, all of them have CEOs that make millions of dollars instead of making 100,000 out of morals, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to choose the $2 an hour. And they ended up sending, over the last 20 years, especially since 2000, it has just picked up and picked up and picked up and picked up. And now China does more trade with the world than the U.S. Now, if you look at a map, if you represent, U.S. doing trade with countries is blue, and other countries doing trade with China, doing more trade, and it's red. You will see since 1982? Yeah, 1982, it just basically went whoosh, and it switched. And it slowly went all red. The entire planet ended up trading with China more than us. And now where we sit right now is everybody has their stuff made in China. And what happened over that time is they got more and more advanced gear and more advanced equipment to actually build all of the most advanced things on Earth. Not to mention, I don't think anybody thinks the Chinese people are a stupid people. I don't think that at all. In fact, most of you probably knew, of course, their culture in high school. You knew which kid was definitely getting a 4.0. It's very high in their culture to be educated and to finish school and to go to college and higher education. The numbers and the data prove it. Same with Indian culture, it's just there. But as far as what is happening now, as far as them stealing our secret designs, a New York man was sentenced on Tuesday to 2 years in prison for conspiring to steal General Electric Company's trade secrets to benefit Xi's country. The U.S. Justice Department said Xiaoqing Zhang, 59, of Nicosia, New York, was convicted of conspiracy to commit economic espionage following a 4-week jury trial that ended in March last year, according to the Justice Department. It said that U.S. District Judge May DeAugustino also sentenced Zhang to pay a $7,500 fine and serve 1 year of post-imprisonment supervised release. Which is crazy. First of all, if he was doing that, I'm surprised he got a $7,500 fine and served 1 year of post-imprisonment supervised release. Huh. Seems a little light. Maybe, is it post 25 years in prison? I don't understand. Sounds pretty treasonous. I mean, it's literally called espionage, but whatever. What do you guys think? Do you think that person should be let off easy or what? And then China's foreign minister says deeply impressed with Americans. So this is kind of funny. It says new Chinese foreign minister Qin Gang offered a effusive praise of Americans after stepping down as his nation's top envoy to Washington, signaling that ties between the world's biggest economies appear to be warming despite recent tensions over Taiwan. So basically, we put this in here, by the way. This is saying that everything is warm and fuzzy between us and China, right? And all of the men that are saying that it's not, they're just nuts. It says, I have been deeply impressed by so many hardworking, friendly, and talented American people that I met, Qin said in a tweet on Tuesday, adding that he said made many friends across the U.S. Sounds like an Asian Trump or something. He's got tons of friends. Quinn said that he continued to support the growth of China-U.S. relations and promote peace and development. Comments that add the signs Beijing is adopting a softer diplomatic touch. China-U.S. ties have improved since talks between President JB and Chinese leader Xi Jinping in November, and it says may get another boost when U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visits early this year in 2023. Washington and Beijing have resumed discussions on topics such as climate change that China halted after Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August, when Beijing held unprecedented military drills around the island it has vowed to someday control. It says China has expressed frustration with the U.S. support for Taiwan, and Beijing has said that Washington needs to take steps for the nations to make progress in restarting dialogue between their armed forces. Now, there could be many things here. Of course, they could be acting sweet, to try to push off, if they are about to do something massive, which they're doing a ton of military drills. Maybe they want us to think that they're friendly. Maybe something's going on with Beijing B over there. I don't know. But what I do know is they're trying to tell us that everything is good. And, of course, knowing how much propaganda comes out of their country and how many digital spies they have, over 1 million on the payroll just in their digital kind of army, I don't exactly believe it. And, of course, even if we are all warm and fuzzy, that's because they're getting their way, or that they are successfully, paving pockets and getting what they want. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then thank you, everybody that has popped in already. Stephen McMahon, Josh P., Sun Summoner, FG, Heath Spear, K. Parker Frazier, and then Jay Harrison. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for supporting our show. I appreciate you. Jeffrey Petrie For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Looking like it. And then Pam B, thank you for your support. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your super chat. You can always write a message there as well. Charles Jenkins, I swear when I was like 12 and doing prank calls, I literally, that was like the go-to like fake name. Yeah, Charles Jenkins. Let's see here. And thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate that. B-Real Beast, history people, when an economy collapses, war takes place. It's a continuous cycle. They're telling, even if you don't believe anything bad's going to happen, look at what every expert in every field is saying. Almost every category is about to collapse. What's good for that? War. What is it good for? Well, there's actually some things that it would be good for. But none of those good things are for us. It's for them. Marf, my one recommendation to all your listeners to buy pure silver and watch The Greatest Truth Never Told on YouTube. Jerry Shirts 99. I agree with you. I actually do. As far as gold and silver is good, silver is a lot better because it's more attainable and it's in smaller denominations. I actually agree with you. For the last 2 years, that's something that I have actually believed in. As you guys know, I'm not a big crypto person. And then Thomas C. Bryan, Iranian war game Zulfikar 1401. So Thomas C. Bryan, what, I know that it's a war game because that's what we covered, but what does that word mean, the Zulfikar? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What does that translate to? And then Stephen McMahon, thank you again. And JC, I'm Crazy Brumfield, Lisa R. Hall, Laura Reed, but thank you. I appreciate that. B-Real Beast, and of course, Thomas C. Bryan. My great-great-grandfather, Bean, donated the money to start DC, and then Japan donated the cherry trees. Mr. Bean. Huh. That is cool. I always thought the Mr. Bean was the, you were named after Mr. Bean. One of my favorite people as a kid. That show cracked me up. Let's see here. And let's see. We're going to be moving right along. Make sure to give us a call at 2244-00-MARF. That's again 2244-00-6273. And make sure to press option 4 and you will get Dex directly. Okay. And then China's nuclear force built in part with U.S. technology, which of course they stole. It says Beijing's rapid buildup of nuclear forces has been assisted by American nuclear and missile technology obtained by Chinese spies and through U.S. space and nuclear cooperation since the 1990s, according to a review of Chinese technology records and internal U.S. government documents. It says the Pentagon disclosed last month that China's warhead stockpile will reach at least 1,500 strategic nuclear warheads by 2035. Up from just 200 just a few years ago and 400 warheads today. Now I want to point out, in 2021, in early 2021 or late 2020, during CV, we covered that they wanted to get to 300 nuclear missiles by 2024. It is now 2023, and it was actually, long ago that they already made 300. Now they're at 400. And then it was announced that they were working towards 1,500. The time that it took them to do 300, and by the way, the actual silos are being drilled and made, and those were done and in rapid succession. Do you think it's going to be 2035 when they have 1,500? Or do you think that they're going to have more than 1,500 in less time than that? I personally think they are building them like there's no tomorrow. Literally. Admiral Charles Richard, until December 9th, the commander of the U.S. nuclear forces, further sounded the alarm on the Chinese nuclear expansion last month when he formally notified Congress that the size of the Chinese nuclear forces for the first time exceeds those of the United States in one of 3 unspecified areas: warheads, long-range missiles, or launchers. It says a year earlier, Admiral Richard notified Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin that China had formally reached strategic breakout It says a strategic breakout denotes the rapid qualitative and quantitative expansion of military capabilities that enables a shift in strategy that requires the DoD to make immediate and significant planning and or capability shifts. Basically, what they found out, they were saying that this needs immediate attention and that we basically have to change everything because of what we are seeing here today. Now, Dex, I know that you're going to be getting people on the phone, but I did want you to pop in on this one. This is a pretty big deal, and this is something that I believe you even called almost specifically as far as when you even talked about how that this was going to, when they saw this, they're going to basically change everything and that they're going to immediately react. Dex, are you free?
Hey, Adam, I'm here.
So we're talking about how the strategic breakout and how they basically said that this needs attention right now and that they need to change things with China's nuclear forces built in part with U.S. technology.
Well, I think this, if anything, this tells us that the fact that we think that we're ahead or we think we have any advantage, that advantage is gone. If they have been stealing all of our information and have built all of their technology based off of our current tech, then and we don't do anything to advance it, then they're gonna be just another superpower, just as big as ourselves. I think that this is, kind of goes back to that message that everyone sort of says, hey, don't worry, G's country can't make anything, or our military is better, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, they've been stealing everything. They continue to do it. We've talked earlier about a story about somebody being charged for trying to give up secrets from one of our big companies, and it was GE. And so it just goes back to that point. So the investment that they're making, the number of silos that they've created, the types of nuclear technology they're building, whether it's and even look at some of the advancements they've done with their sun generator, with fusion, nuclear fusion, and other things like that. They're really making huge strides above where we've been. Even with hypersonics, they were ahead of us, at least in the press, or at least in what's been released publicly. So I think the point is we have to, again, pay attention to that fact and not dismiss them. And I know everyone is quick to dismiss. And I guess the proof will come when the day actually comes when we have to go toe to toe with somebody. We'll learn who is the bigger or badder person, and when it comes to any strategic advantage of technology and weaponry. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from this. We've seen numerous people tell us about the warnings of what they've been doing. We've talked about the espionage. We've talked about now the technology and how much of that technology has actually been taken over the years, and that it's clear that we're no longer in a strategic, or if we are, it's not going to be for much longer that we'll have that strategic advantage over a country with as large a GDP as they have, with a large of an economy as they have, with as many people. And let's not discount that. Having a lot of people gives them a very large advantage. It also is an expense. They have to, maintain and feed and manage that population. But at the same time, it's a huge advantage, especially with the numbers that they educate compared to the numbers that we educate.
And then if there are many people that don't know, I know there's a lot of people that watch the replay every day, and it must get old, some of the things that I have to tell new people, but there are new people all the time. There's new names coming in and out. Like I said, most people are in cycles, or there's 3 months of their life where maybe they break their leg and they find my show and they're really attentive, and then they have to go back to daily life or back to the job, and they can't watch during the time, or this or that, whatever. But there are certain things that I think are really important to know. One of those things is how much China has been stockpiling. I think that on top of what I mentioned earlier, as far as how trade has now switched over to China, and then, of course, they have now stockpiled 65% of the world's wheat. The world's wheat. They have 20% of the world's population, but yet they're taking 65% of the world's wheat, 55% of the world's corn. They all of a sudden are not selling their natural gas to certain parties. They're holding it back. They're doing it. And now we have seen recent purchases where the experts in the field of gold are saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. China bought more gold in one quarter than basically anyone bought in the previous one before that. It was like they've been doing these massive overhauls of gold. What are they expecting? Or what are they doing? There's also talk that they are building this new, all of the new currency stuff that's going out. I'm not a currency expert. I won't even try to pretend I'm good at that stuff. But I will say I'm good at seeing some common sense things right now. I see the pushback. One thing that I have not done for 5 years is kiss their butts. You guys probably know. I have no problem with the Chinese people, but with their government, that's another thing. And one thing you will see, that is any channel that says negative things about them for whatever reason gets attacked nonstop. Anybody that goes against them. Serpent ZA, there's all sorts of channels that have basically told the truth about them nonstop. I don't think it's a coincidence. I really don't. There are so many things happening right now that I feel that it's really hard to deny that they are trying to make a real big power move, and something is coming our way. And I will, I'm not trying to be vague. I think it's war. I think it is partly famine. I think that we are going to have events to our grid. I think we might even have a civil conflict. And that's based off of what others are saying and what others are doing right now. So my advice, and this is just my opinion, your opinion matters, all of our opinions matter, is that we should all prepare and that we should have extra food, extra water, and you should definitely keep paying attention to this stuff. Whether it be me or somebody else in this community, pay attention because it's literally about to get real. And we're not trying to get a pat on the back when it happens, because when it happens, I don't think we're going to have the internet. If it does go down and we are really screwed, it's not going to be good. And then North Korea, as far as, of course, we kind of touched on this last show. This was like just coming out, or it said that North Korea's Kim orders exponential expansion of nuke arsenal. Now, this was already, I believe it was in the web only last night, or maybe I saw it right after the show. I can't remember. But this is a big deal because now, because of this, the U.S. has said some things. It says North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered the exponential expansion of his country's nuclear arsenal and the development of a new, more powerful intercontinental ballistic missile, state media reported on Sunday. It said after he entered 2023 with another weapons test following a record number of missile firings. So, remember this was done, right? Said that an exponential number, they're going to just start building and building and building and whatever else, right? Then the U.S. said some things that were extremely conflicting. So watch this. So let's see here. If it ever loads. Conflicting statements on the possibility of U.S. South Korea nuclear drills. Now remember, South Korea doesn't actually have their own nukes. It says the armed forces of South Korea and the United States are not planning to undertake joint nuclear exercises, the White House has confirmed. It says the clarification follows comments from South Korea's President Yoon Suk Yeol suggesting that the two sides were already discussing joint planning for military drills that would involve nuclear assets. It says at the same time, the United States has confirmed that it's in discussion with Seoul about other various military matters apart from joint nuclear exercises. The latest developments come as South Korea seeks to expand the scope of the extended deterrence against North Korean threats provided by the U.S. military, which includes American conventional and nuclear forces. So we would use our nukes, right? It says, as President J.B. said, we are not discussing joint nuclear exercises, the spokesman for the U.S. National Security Council said. And it says the ROK, the Republic of Korea, is a non-nuclear weapons state. And it says the same spokesman did reiterate the fact that South Korea and the United States are continuing to work on an effective coordinated response to a range of scenarios, including nuclear use by North Korea. This work and related efforts have been ramped up since a key meeting between President B and Yoon and Phum Phen. It said that some hours prior to that statement, President J.B. himself quashed suggestions of discussions on a joint nuclear exercise, issuing a firm no in a response to a reporter's question on the topic. However, it remains possible that there may have been other engagements between the two allies that may have touched upon nuclear weapons, albeit outside the scope of joint drills. So there's messaging saying that they're doing nuclear exercises with South Korea, and then they say, no, we're not. Are they actually doing something with South Korea and they're just covering it up? Or was there an actual mistake here? It says the possibility of discussions related to exercises had been recently brought up by President Yoon, who told journalists that these talks were already underway as part of the Extended Deterrence Initiative. The nuclear weapons belong to the United States, but planning, information sharing, exercises, and training should be jointly conducted by South Korea and the United States. It says what we call extended deterrence was also the United States telling us not to worry because it will take care of everything. But now it's difficult to convince our people with just that. The U.S. government also understands that to some degree. They're basically, the South Korean people are like, hey, the NK has nukes, we don't. Is the U.S. going to step in and actually help us? Look at what's going on with Russia. Look what's going on everywhere else. Look at what happened with Afghanistan. Look at what happened with a lot of places. So there is a lot of conflicting talks about this. Obviously, they just keep making these total screw ups and saying things that they don't mean, or they don't expect the feedback they get, and then they change the story. I don't know, but it's definitely getting pretty wild as far as the stories. We're going to go to our next caller here in just a second. It looks like we actually have David, a first-time caller, and we're calling from Tennessee. While you get David on the phone, I want to remind people, if you do want to protect your cars, your trucks, your vehicles, even your home, and even your ham radio, and even your ATVs from an EMP, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is a device and a company that's actually outfitted agencies like DHS, DOD, and they're officially on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This EMP shield is meant to ground the signal of an EMP or an electromagnetic pulse, or a CME, the Carrington level event everybody talks about, in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car, your truck, your devices, and everything else. So if you do want to protect yourself, the government's not going to step in and protect you, and they're most definitely protecting themselves. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You're supporting a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made product, down to the screws, and you're helping support our channel at the same time as getting a huge discount. You get $50 off per device, and that really helps, especially if you have multiple cars to outfit. Now, again, if you want to get that last 10 miles home or get to your bug out spot after an EMP, this is definitely a really great thing to have. It's also easy. You can put it in less than 10 minutes into the car. Again, most of the devices can be put in really quick. Now, this traditional EMP shield pictured here is about 3 times bigger Then the new micro. This is what is going to protect the ATVs and the four-wheelers and all the little things, the motorcycles. If you previously got an EMP shield and it would not fit, which a lot of you emailed and said, hey, this won't fit in the tiny space that I have and this and that, you can get one of the micros. It is about a third of the size. It is very tiny. It can fit in the palm of your hand. That has the same protection, but it is a third of the size. So make sure to go check that out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. All right, David, you are, again, a first-time caller out of Tennessee. You are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, Marv, what are you doing, brother?
Hey, how are you doing, David?
Good show tonight.
Well, thank you. You want to talk about China?
Hanging in there.
Nice to hear. What's going on, David?
Well, yeah, if you look at the social credit score, that was under Henry Christner, Christner in 72. Now we got social credit score. Now, if you showed 15 years ago, you'll see that China buried copper, gold, silver, all that in the northern deserts of China and built the ghost cities. And yeah, now it's been taken down. Look into it. But yeah, everything you saw, and then you saw I can't say, well, they done that south of the border, up the north, whatever. But yes, that is going on. And now you get social credit score, just like in China. Well, that is their gold model. And they've been pushing that for years and years. When was you American that we have never been at war with somebody? I want to answer that.
Well, I can tell you that in America's history since 1776, I believe 8% of the time or less has not been in a war. So like 92% of our entire history has been without a war. So something like
and then how many
hundred
spies
years.
And how they sold us out in that years. Yeah, exactly. But anyways, but now the Chinese model is social credit score. That is. And if you look 15 years ago before they censored YouTube, you'll see them. China took over all the precious metals. Now in 2016, it was all about our country. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it, but yeah, our country, our.
Russia.
We
can say
gotta
Russia.
stop them. We gotta stop them. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then a school teacher told me 2 + 2 = 5, and she said, "Well, I gotta teach that to our kids because they won't give her tenure to me." And I'm like, now look what they're teaching our kids here at school. Do you think they're teaching Chinese kids 2 + 2 = 5? No. But anyways, Mark.
Are you referencing? By the way, are you referencing?
website.
David, are you referencing the new math? Because I don't understand the new math. Is that what you're saying, or is
Me
that
neither. That was 15 years ago. I dated a school teacher when the Common Core came out, and they teaching kindergartners 2 + 2 = 5. Now look what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Look at why are they doing that? I just want to know why. Do you think they're doing other countries like that? No. That's what I want to know. Why? And now you can do that. That was illegal in the old days. Now you got misinformation on Twitter or YouTube or anything. You can't question the science. Now, what is the science? Is it Chinese science? Oh, excuse me. But yeah, go look at the ghost cities and why they're burying it in, and you'll see they are preparing, just like everybody said and called in before. They're smarter than you think they are. And if you put a brain chip in them, they'll still know what's going on. Everybody's connected. They all know what's happening. It's just like being on the phone. Everybody talks. Everybody's connected. Now, how do you cut that off? You censor it. That's what their biggest fear is.
Now, you also had a second point here about President Biden flies to U.S. Virgin Islands, and then today, the Attorney General, USVI.
Why did he do that on his Christmas holiday? Ask me that. You think Sleepy Joe would just get out of his wherever he's at to fly down there? Why was that so important? Why didn't he fly to Ukraine and fire that Attorney General in Ukraine?
Yeah, well,
but no, he flew to the Virgin Islands.
Common sense doesn't happen now. There's a lot of logical things that don't happen anymore, do they?
No, it just don't make sense. Why did the school teachers teach our kids 2 + 2 = 5? Now you see what they're teaching our school kids. Now, do you think the other countries are teaching that to their kids?
Yeah. No,
why are they taking all our manufacturing, all our jobs, and sending it overseas? Well, it all started. You know where it started. You can look back, but anyways. But it don't make sense, Marv. It just don't make sense.
Well, I get you, and lots of valid points there, David. Again, as far as the ghost cities, though, were you saying that they're burying minerals there? Is that what you were saying? That's what I have in my notes.
Yes, I was on there 15 years ago on YouTube. Yes, sir, Mark. They was taking cranes and burying in North China. Gold, platinum, zinc, copper, all silver, all the rare earth materials. They've been burying it up there. And there was a YouTube video showing the Chinese. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say. Well, yeah, Google it. Dex will find it. I sent him a link. But anyways.
Or DuckDuckGo it. That's better.
If it's not. But, yeah, you will find it. Yeah, it was happening a long time ago. And if you look, who was in the presidency that sold all our secrets, yeah, you'll see how it correlates to where we're at now. But anyways, I'm not a dumbass, and I don't understand why they want to teach our kids this crap.
Well, they also don't teach them cursive or how to read a clock. People can't read a general clock now. They don't teach that in school. They use digital clocks. They don't teach them cursive. And to do, I don't know about 2 + 2 = 5, but I know that if you're doing like 2 + 10, they go put 1 + 1, then +5 + 5, and then do this and this and that. And the new math it takes the simplest math and extends it out. And I don't even understand the math my 7-year-old's doing. It's completely confusing, and it's a lot of work for really simple problems. I don't know if that helps in the long run for like the more advanced stuff, but it's absolutely insane. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up new math and look what it says to do. But yeah, I get you.
I had to divorce she was a school teacher. I said, honey, how can you teach it? Well, I'll lose my tenure if I don't teach them this crap. And I was like, honey, that don't even make sense. You're confusing kindergartners and third graders. Well, I won't get my paycheck.
Yeah, I get you, David.
Anyway.
It's painful. It's painful to watch. Well, thank you, David, for calling in, and I appreciate you. And again, love everybody I've met from Tennessee. It's been absolutely great. So thank you so much, David. David? Okay. It looks like he clicked out. That was David from Tennessee. I love the Tennessee accent. Now, let's see here. Can you relate to David? Let me know in the comments down below. I don't know what he is referencing with the burying of the minerals, and I thought he said at one point that they've taken down the ghost cities. I didn't get a chance to ask him that. All right, and then go ahead, Dex.
And we'll cover a little bit of it later, but the U.S. Virgin Islands story is in Overflow tonight.
Yeah, so I guess it was more lost in translation. But I got the most of it. Thank you so much for calling in, David, and thank you for everybody that is super polite and super positive and pushing people up. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, yeah. By the way, Tennessee has a very thick accent, and that might sound odd to somebody that's not from Tennessee. Russians marching over corpses. UKR Army Commander-in-Chief reports the situation at front. Dex, do you actually want to go over this in a second? I might actually have to change something over here. If you're able to. If you're not, we can wait.
Yeah, so apparently the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of UKR spoke with Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, on the phone for the first time today, or yesterday, depending on what time zone you're in. And part of the conversation, I guess this is one of the things that came up, was that they're literally walking over, other soldiers that are on the ground, and that they're making it out like it's really, really bad. Now, again, we have to pay attention to all of this input, because we get it from both sides. We get it from both sides of the conflict. We get it from the UKR perspective, and we get it from Vlad's perspective. And we also know that on both sides, they very much want to control the narrative, and they're not going to say things that they don't want to say, and they're not going to say things that are going to necessarily put them in a bad light or be that is not beneficial for themselves. So we've heard these numbers of, I remember over a month ago they were reporting 100,000 losses for Vlad's country, and then just yesterday we were reporting this one massive attack that was, somewhere in the neighborhood of hundreds to 400 people in one particular instance, and that was coming from UKR's side. Now Vlad's side did come out and say, hey, yeah, we did have some losses, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 60. But these again, we get these different points of views that keep coming out from these sides, and it's always foggy when it comes to conflict like this. It's always, the information is always rife with potential either disinformation or at least coloring in their favor, so to speak, and how they want to make things out. So that's why I say always take this stuff with a grain of salt. But basically what they said is, hey, the lines on Vlad's side are so bad they're having to walk on top of each other, and these aren't people sleeping. Unfortunately, these are people that are perished on the ground. So they're saying, so a pretty gnarly representation of what's happening there.
Dex, did we lose you?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. It just cut out at the last second, so it sounded like we cut you off. Dex, by the way, how is the storm? You had like a tornado warning, right? You had something like that?
Yeah, we had some major storms rolling through Georgia and I think Alabama and everywhere over here. We had a tornado watch for a while. I'm fine where we are, but the lightning was pretty massive.
Well, I know that you had to also deal with your dog, because your dog gets scared in those storms and stuff, and it's crazy. My dog Gary, which was named after the SpongeBob snail by my then 4-year-old, he just doesn't react to anything. I've had tons of animals, and they've always reacted to like New Year's Eve and fireworks and 4th of July. This dog does not react to anything. We could have the next door house blown up and he would just be kicking it. Whereas I know your dog, I've heard it goes nuts when that stuff happens. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, he has a special crate just because of his anxiety. It's pretty bad. He's a great dog 99% of the time, but when there's a storm, he's literally tunneled through walls. I've repaired sheetrock 4 times in my house because of this dog.
I know, that's nuts. I know some of you guys have pets like that. One thing I miss Florida Patriot 71. She did a lot of videos on the prep side for pets. There's not really many channels. I think she had a great niche, and she passed away of cancer. She actually, it was quite sad, not only when she passed, but how she did videos even talking about it, basically saying that she smoked her entire life, and she said she was like, I brought this on myself, and that was like the most painful part. After the fact, it's very sad. There's a lot of Foogle family members we've lost. We lost a couple more recently, but their families asked not to be mentioned. But there was a couple big Foogle family members that we lost recently, and I just want to say I'm praying for your family. And by the way, those same people that don't want to mention are still here with us, and they actually watch the show too. They have had several issues, and I pray for you guys, and I love you guys, and I'm so thankful that we've had so many people here since the beginning. If you run a show like this with so many regulars, you start to know people on another level, and then with knowing that many people, when you lose somebody, it's really hard, and it's just the odds, and it makes me constantly think, I guess in everybody's position, in regular life, you have so many friends, and if you know a lot of people, then you're more likely to see people pass away. I guess in my position, I get to know thousands and thousands of people, and it's really, it kind of weighs on you, because we are losing people all the time, and they're, it's pretty rough. The last 5 years have been kind of a roller coaster. So thank you, everybody that's still here, and I cherish you guys, and I really do appreciate you. And for this New Year's, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for staying with me this entire time. People like Lisa R. Hall and Trinity and RJL Harris, all sorts of great people that have been with me since the very, very beginning. Thank you. And then explosions heard in Rostov and Kursk. Says January residents and eyewitnesses reported the sounds of explosions in the Russian city of Rostov-on-Don and Kursk. So not much to say here, but there is footage of this. This article is attached on marfooglenews.com, but there are actual attacks going down in Vlad's country right now, and people need to pay attention, because when this turned into an offensive war, that's when things can really, really heat up. Not to mention, it says Soldiers' Widows Group calls on Putin to order major mobilization for UKR conflict. So, not to mention that people are all over the place saying that they are preparing Russia for a even bigger mobilization. There are rumors, and most of them are not from these anonymous Telegram groups. They're actually from Russians themselves. That are speaking, and not to Western media, but to their media, stating that this is about to get really, really big. So there's a lot of really crazy rumors out there. I won't go too far into the speculation or rumors, because that is what scares people. But I would say, if you want to do some looking yourself, and if you go and look at what the Russian side is saying, there is a lot of rumor of this about to get really, really big and really, really fast. And this is on a local level. This is like cities preparing their sons to go and ship out and possibly be drafted. Not to mention, there's rumors, of course, saying that they're about to shut down the borders for all men to leave Russia and certain things like this. We covered a little bit of it last night, so make sure to watch that show. It says a little-known patriotic group which supports the widows of Russian soldiers has called on President Vlad to order a large-scale mobilization of millions of men and to close the borders to ensure victory in UKR. This is kind of crazy. Dex, this is essentially, they're calling for what this group did say, though. The Telegram group was kind of mentioning this in that SVR thing, right?
Well, this is also one of the things that we reported in coming not just from that group. I don't even think it came from SVR. I think it came from the media, from Vlad specifically, and they were saying they were going to do this. And it's really interesting now to see this organization, which we don't know this organization.
Oh, the crony.
Maybe somebody here knows them, but but now all of a sudden they're saying the same message. So to the extent that you want to think that there's, alignment amongst their people, that could be the case. To the extent that you want to think there's organization amongst the government and these other little organizations that do things so that they can get in line or say the right messaging to get people behind this initiative. I think if anything, you should just look at this and say, okay, we heard the rumors that there was this large mobilization coming. Now we have this group that we're supposed to feel good about because they're widows, right? It's a feel good group are coming out and saying it. It's pretty much adding more validation to the fact that this thing that we think is about to happen, this thing that's been speculated, but also been rumored and leaked is happening, probably is happening because now they're using organizations to put the message out and get people behind it.
Now it's funny. I just kind of thought of how many Russians, but a lot of the clips that are coming out of Russia and circulated through Telegram and Twitter, it makes it seem a certain way. Like Russians are like, F the US, USA, this and that. We'll take you on any day, that kind of thing. And it kind of fits what we think the stereotypical, Russian would say in a situation like this. But of course you're going to get, when you say how many Russians support this conflict, you're going to get what we believe is Ganda, which is Newsweek and all of our MSM, which wants you to support the conflict because they want to keep shoveling money into the military-industrial complex. They're saying, oh, yeah, the support is totally collapsed. Nobody wants this. Nobody supports it in Russia. When you go over to Russia's side, there's polls, and it says in this poll, it says more than 80% of Russians say they like their president's work, and a similar number say they support the conflict against UKR. A somewhat different picture emerges when asked about the feelings of Russians. It says, I don't think this war in itself is popular in Russia, right? So this is another poll, February 13th of last year. How many Americans want U.S. to fight Russia? That one showed only 13% of U.S. adults believe it would be a good idea to deploy troops to fight Russians. I'm not going to click onto this, but I will look into it and I will get back to you tomorrow. I want to read this because it actually does not show the Russian side. I wonder what it would be. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll give you an update tomorrow, and we'll see what is the reverse. Don't look it up either. Don't ruin the surprise. We'll see what it's vice versa. I don't know. I think people would probably be surprised. As far as this patriotic group, and that's right, it was a crony of Putin, and this very well could be Ganda. Take it with a grain of salt. But when you start seeing multiple groups saying the same thing, and this could be their Ganda to basically make it look like, oh, well, these are even, widow groups that are saying, hey, we need to do this and we need to mobilize millions of men. This is a patriotic group, so maybe it's calling out to all of the Russian patriots and saying like, hey, even these ladies support this, so you should too. I don't know, but we'll see. All right, let's get our next caller on. We also have, let's see here. We have Alan, a.k.a. Overcoming Bipolar, talking about solar flares and thoughts about the sun. Let's get Alan on the phone, and while you get Alan on the phone, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, if you don't have long-term survival food, then a good resource for it is over here at marfugglenews.com/prep. This is powered by My Patriot Supply. And the best thing about this is it is affordable. Now, as far as survival food, not too many people are going to choose this over nice ham roast. But freeze-dried foods have their purpose. They are extremely good for long-term survival food. As far as the food that comes in these packages, the one thing I really, really love about My Patriot Supply is that you can get 3 months for about $600. That is now $200 off right now. It's the biggest discount since 2019. And again, that is something that will last you 25 years. That's 3 months of food, all packaged up in Mylar bags, freeze-dried, so that you can, in 2050 or nearly 2050, be able to pull this out and add water and cook it, and you've got yourself a meal. Go over to marfugglenews.com/prep. They also have $70 off on their 1 month supply. But if you think about it like this, if you are a 2-person household, you have a 3-month supply. That's a month and a half or 6 weeks for 2 people. Or again, you can have 2 of those and be set for 3 months each. It's pretty amazing deal. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. You also support our channel as well, and you're getting a huge discount while doing it. It's a really, really great way to support independent media, not only from us, but you can also go through any of our peers or our friends. Make sure to use their code. If you're going to get the stuff, always make sure that if there's a channel you like, see if any of those affiliates that you're already going to go through, see if they have an affiliate deal with one of your favorite channels. That way you can support somebody, get a discount at the same time as supporting the community. All right, Dex, let's get on Alan. Alan, a.k.a. Overcoming Bipolar, what is happening?
Hello, Marv. This is Alan again. I just want to thank you for being at the tip of the spear in the news. And like you said, the dinosaur media is dying, and you guys are sharing the truth. And I wanted to talk today about solar flares and weather changes, because I live in Louisiana, and we have the deep freeze, 19, 15-degree weather. Now, all of a sudden, a couple days later, we're having 80-degree weather with tornado threats. So I guess it all ties into the sun, huh?
Yeah, that's quite a change in a short amount of time there. Wait. So go over that again. You said it was -15. Now it's 80 degrees and a possible hurricane or tornado. Is that what you said?
Yeah, in Louisiana, we're having tornado threats and warnings, and thank God none have touched down. Our power flickered on and off a couple hours ago, but I think it ties to the sun, because I'm really close friends with Sandero, and I even heard Mike from around the world talking about in the first week of January we needed to look at the sun. And I just went on Twitter and I saw what you posted about Bob Marley being like the face of Bob Marley on the sun. I'm like, is that what he's talking about? You're going to see something really a big solar flare on the sun. And I was like, wow, like it's all convergence, it's all synchronicity, and I think it's all pointing that we're seeing the signs of the times.
Okay, so because we've mentioned it a couple times today, and for any of you that did not see this video, Wages World caught this absolutely spooky face in the sun. I just want to point out, somebody earlier said, the first thing you should have said is that's, Jesus or God. First of all, it's just as far as like that face, go look at it yourself, see what you see.
Yeah.
But again, like that was absolutely nuts. And I guess it's all perspective, right? But to automatically see, like if you saw a face in the toast and it looked like Anthony Hopkins, you're not going to go, oh, well, that looks like Jesus. It's not automatically going to be a Jesus face if it doesn't look like Jesus. But it does look like Bob Marley. I'm telling you, it's absolutely crazy. I saw multiple pictures that looked just like it. So go check that out. That was a solar flare that happened, and a big one. Multiple people covered it. Nobody noticed it. Wages World did a great job of snatching that up. So yeah, you think the sun is behind a lot of this weather?
Yeah, like I even had like a really powerful migraine headache today, and I was thinking about it, and I went on Twitter and I saw that there was a big solar flare, and I heard Mike from around the world on Paul Begley's show. I'm going to his college, and I'm doing a lot of things like that, and I'm realizing that the Lord said that we would see these signs. He said, let your heart not be troubled, like they were saying in the chat, that we're going to see these things, and it's meant to make us stronger, it's meant to make us persevere and build our faith. So the more we're seeing these calamities and the wars that are happening, getting bigger faith, like you said, the R country and UKR and everything, and we're just seeing it all converge at once. Because a lot of people say, oh, there's always been earthquakes, there's always been these things. But when they're all converging and they're all pointing, then we know that most generations haven't seen things like this. And I just want to thank you for sharing the truth, because like you said, there's algorithms that are censoring and everything. And for you to be able to even share online with the people that you get to, it's such a blessing. And I want to thank all the Marfoogle family and all of you guys, because you guys are doing an excellent job.
Well, thank you. And again, I see that you are still putting out content, and I appreciate you being in the Foogle family for as long as you have been. Also, how's your mission to, as far as dealing with the bipolar and everything else? How's that going?
Oh, well, I guess I could update everyone, and I don't expect to talk about this, so I kind of keep it personal, but I'll share. what happened was I got completely healed of the thing called mania in 2008. I had not had one manic episode, and I met a natural doctor in California before I moved to Louisiana, and he told me about natural supplements. And I'm not a doctor; I can't prescribe anything, but I took a natural niacin 500 milligrams that has a inositol in it, and I've completely been off my medication for 2 years now. It's all glory to God because He calls us for such a time as this, and sometimes we don't see the end. We hear the Lord say, wait, I need to show you something. The more we're being tried to do these things in our country, like today in the House vote, they didn't even vote the House in because the Lord says a house divided against itself cannot stand. Right? We're just seeing all these signs. But God, I'm so thankful for Him that He completely healed me. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I should change my channel to, instead of overcoming bipolar with Jesus, overcame bipolar with Jesus, because we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony.
Well, that's really amazing to hear. There's a lot of things that I do believe that they would rather sell you a $1,000 pill for than to have you solve it with a vitamin.
Yeah.
So that I agree with, including some
when
of
I
the
was
stuff.
young, I used to eat really unhealthy food. And I changed my diet to drinking a lot more water and purified water and not so much soda. And I basically changed my diet and just got a better bed and with the natural supplement. I'm not on any medication. It's all glory to God. I never thought He would deliver me from that. But I said, Lord, are you willing? And He said, I'm willing that you be made whole, because He wants my mind to be completely healed, because we have to share the gospel and we have to do things in these lives to edify one another. Like you said, lifting people up. And you and Jacob Israel and Dex, all you guys are lifting people up, and you guys are doing an amazing job. And I guess God just has me along for the ride to help support you guys.
Well, thank you, Alan, and I appreciate you so much, and thank you for calling in today. And God bless you. Thank you so much for staying around and sticking around, and I'm glad that you have been able to stay off of all of that stuff for 2 years. Again, a lot of people
Amen. God bless
could
you
learn.
guys. I love you guys a lot, and you guys inspired me when I used to see you. And I think in 2017, when you were talking about the splashdown in Hawaii, that was a real event that was declassified later, that it was a real event, not really declassified, but they proved that you were right on the tip of the spear, and you were you were sharing the truth and what really happened. And they censored it, like you said, they censor it, they don't tell us the truth. But you don't just push a button and cancel something. There's many steps that have to be done. And ever since I've been watching, I didn't even have a channel, so I didn't get to sign in the chat or anything. And I made the channel, and I'm able to encourage you guys, because you guys inspired me to start my own story, and that it could be successful. You can have a really powerful disability, but God says it's not by might nor by power, but by His Spirit that we can overcome. And I heard Jacob Israel's testimony, and he also overcame and got off prescriptions and things like that.
I do know that Jacob's a really close friend. Well, Alan, thank you so much. We do have to. We have about 10 minutes left in the show, so I appreciate your call. And again, thank you so much for calling in. Don't be a stranger, okay?
All right, love you guys, and Marf out.
All right, love you too. Have a good night. Now, as Alan A.K. Overcoming Bipolar, his channel link will be on marfooglenews.com down in the caller section. We need to hit this real quick. We might need to extend over on to Marfoogle Jams. Make sure to subscribe to Marfoogle Jams right now, because the shoutro will be continuing over there. I do want to point out, war leaves Russia weakened and descending into chaos. This is what Polish intelligence says, and we don't hear much from them. According to Zarin, mass detentions that are taking place in Moscow while domestic special services are acting out of panic. The military has a raid in search of conscripts, and Russian military bases are routinely rocked by explosions. They are saying that this is the latest data indicates that Russia is plunging into chaos. If this is true, we are in trouble. So make sure to keep your P's and Q's all taken care of and squared off. Because if it does escalate, and if it is past the point where they can control it, if it does get out of control, like many, including Jens Stoltenberg, the NATO chief, has said it could get into, We are talking about WW3 here. Beijing threatens response to unacceptable virus measures. Chinese government blasted CV-19 testing requirements imposed on passengers from Xi's country and threatened countermeasures against countries involved, which includes the U.S. and several European nations. Now, I want to point out the testing is basically anybody coming into the U.S. This is really insane considering now they're talking about the 2025 event, SEERS, SEERS. They're doing tabletop exercises just as they did back in 2019, right before all of this stuff started. And, of course, we're in the same time period right here at January, December, right in this time period. And they say that now, since they have lifted all their lockdowns, that everything is swirling around, and now there might be some sort of super contagion mutating and all sorts of other things. So buckle up, people. Also, word from Russia is that, of course, there, a lot of folks are very, very scared. And I guess the feeling is a whole lot different in certain oblasts or states, right? And it's much different. Dex, are we going to switch over, or did you just switch?
15 seconds.
Okay. Make sure to head over to marfooglenews.com and just click over to Marfoogle Jams, and we are going to continue the show there. Bodies pile up in China as CV surge overwhelms crematoriums. This is exactly what we saw before the last one. Go over to Marfoogle Jams if you want to hear the rest. If you're on DLive, you're good where you're at. Everything continues on DLive and on Rumble. So with bodies piling up in China as CV surge overwhelms crematoriums, look at how close this is to where we were back in 2020. This is absolutely freaky. This is why people need to pay attention. We are literally living in a movie right now, and it is on replay. Somebody was not kind, rewound, and now we're playing back through the same thing, or at least that's what it feels like. I would not be surprised, and I would not put it past anybody for this entire thing to go in a circle again. Now, most people would think, how could they do that after a special